Peace. What's the word, everybody? Give everybody a chance to tap in with the kid before we start building on the subject matter for the day. Hopefully, everybody is having a powerful Thursday thus far. We got some very important things to build on today, man. Hopefully, y'all got about 45 minutes to an hour to chop it up with the kid. Y'all got to work with me, man. I'm dealing with this new laptop here, man. So I'm trying to get everything situated and figured out here, man. But what's the word? Let me know how we living and feeling. I'm gonna give everybody about a minute or two to tap in, man. Y'all see the subject matter, y'all see the topic. This one of those things where we got to go in, man. A lot of times this the topic or the subject matter where everybody got a lot to say, but nobody really offers any solutions, and nobody is really trying to get to the origin of our problems. And by our problems, I mean black men and black women, the dysfunction, the divide, the division, all of that good stuff, man. A lot of people got a lot to say about both sides. We like to point the finger at one another, but who is really trying to get to the origin and who is really trying to come up with some solutions to solve our problems? And I feel like in order for us to really solve our problems, man, we got to get to the origin. How did we get in this boat in the first place, man? And that's the most important thing. But yeah, give me a second here, man. Let me get things situated here on this laptop, man. But we gonna build. How y'all living though, man? How y'all feeling? How y'all feeling on this wonderful Thursday, man? The weather's starting to get a little nice on my end, so we all good over here. So how y'all living and feeling? Let me type a little something up real quick. There we go. All right, here we go. Yeah, there we go. We in this thing now. Working with this new laptop, man. So I gotta get things figured out, man. Had to upgrade. Black Graffiti, peace. What's happening? Whoever it is, peace. Goldie, peace. Antonio, my brother, peace. What's happening? Magic, peace. Patrick, peace. Goddess, peace. Queen, what's happening? Larry, peace. What's the word? Airview, peace. What's happening? Akuma, peace. Shalom, peace. What's the word? Big Smooth, peace. What's happening? Jasmine, peace. Queen, what's the word? Antoinette, peace. Queen, what's happening? We in the building. But yeah, man, we gotta talk about. I got a book that I want to recommend to y'all right here. This the book that inspired it. Slave Breeding. Learning to Love Myself, peace, Queen, what's happening? Slave Breeding, Sex, Violence, and Memory in African American History. Grab this book. Book is important. It's crucial. Shantae, peace, Queen, what's happening? This book is crucial. It talks about slave breeding. One of the things that I found that was fascinating, I knew about it, but I hadn't thought deeply about it. And it talked about the mothers, like the black mothers at that time, when they were dividing the black family up, and when they would separate the husband from the wife, and then the wife from the kids and the husband from the kids. One thing that struck me and stuck out to me, it talked about how black women were forced to basically detach from their children. Black women were forced to not be as affectionate to their children. Why? Because they did not know if they were going to be around for the child. So it's like, all right, man, I'm gonna have this child, but I don't know. They might sell this child. They might sell this child away from me. So why would I get attached? Why would I show this child all of the affection and be emotional? Things along those lines. And that kind of stuck out to me. Like that stuck out to me. That was pretty deep. It was like these black mothers, they were forced to adopt that type of mentality early in the game because they were taking these children. Matter of fact, first they was forcing them to breed with certain dudes, with certain slaves or black men. Then they were taking the children, selling the children off. So the mothers was like, what's the point? What's the point of being attached to these children if we know that we're not going to see them in the long run? If we know that we're not going to be able to protect them and provide and nurture them and things like that, what's the point? So they became emotionless to the children. And we see that a lot in the black community. Heck, I come from that lack of affection. Like, man, my household, we don't show a lot of affection in my household. I know a lot of other black families that live the same way. Like, we don't show a lot of affection towards one another. And that stems from that. That stems from that. That was almost forced on us. You taking these families and you are dividing them, selling them off to the point where they're not going to see each other. Like, you have to develop that mentality. You have to become strong by default, mentally, psychologically. You have to. So they was forced to adopt that type of mentality simply because these wicked folks wanted to enslave our people based on the color of our skin, based on our pigmentation. All because they wanted to do that. Now you have the lack of affection. Now you have the lack of emotion, the lack of feeling. Man, y'all really got to start getting to the origin of that. Why do we have that? Why do you have a lot of black men that don't know how to express themselves? Why do you have this situation? Go back to the origins of it. Go back to slavery. A lot of times people don't want to talk about slavery. Oh man, that's in the past. No, it's still affecting us to this day. We suffer from a lot of situations. We suffer from a lot of things, a lot of ailments, a lot of just everything. We suffer from a lot that stems from what happened to our ancestors via slavery. So no, we got to always bring up slavery. We got to always talk about it, because you got an unresolved conflict right now that more than likely stems from something that your ancestors went through via slavery. You got a set of emotions right now that you can't really pinpoint the origin, and it has something to do with what your ancestors had to endure via slavery. We not disconnected from slavery. We not disconnected from what our ancestors went through. Whether you want to acknowledge it or not, we not disconnected from it. We still connected to it. We still connected to it. In my opinion, we are still enslaved, just a different form of slavery. Eugene, yep. And that's how they viewed us. Antonio, exactly. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like the lack of emotion, the lack of affection. Like, we get ridiculed for it, but we got to stop doing that, man. A lot of times, man, we got to start getting to the origin of things, man. Why is this black man not showing emotion? Why is this black man not affectionate? Instead of getting mad at him, try to gain an understanding of why he is that way. Do the knowledge to the history and to the origin. And again, that's why I feel like a lot of our, like, the dysfunction, that's why I feel like it's not really, we're not getting anywhere with it. Again, when you jump on these platforms, you just got people talking bad about the other side. Like, really, come on. Once we get to the understanding of, okay, this is how black men ended up in this space mentally, and this is how black women ended up in that space mentally, now we got to understand it. The understanding is now understood. Now we can solve problems. We can't solve problems if we don't know how we got to the problem or where the problem came from. You know, so we got to get to the origin of the problem in order to solve it. And the way to get to the origin is to understand the history. But a lot of people don't want to travel back that far. We don't want to do that. We want to just do things for clicks and views. Black women this, black men that, black women this, black men, like, that's what we want to do. That's the game that we in. Nice. Peace, what's happening? CC, peace, what's happening? But man, I feel like slavery, for the most part, explains, like, what our ancestors had to endure explains a lot of our problems that we have to this day. What our ancestors had to endure via slavery will explain a lot of what we are currently going through. Because again, we never resolve those conflicts. We never resolve those emotions. We never resolve those traumas. We never healed from that trauma. Black people were not afforded the ability to heal from that trauma. When did we heal from what we went through and from what we are currently going through? When did we heal? Somebody let me know something. When did black people heal? When have black people here, have we healed yet? Somebody let me know when black people came together collectively and we healed. And we resolved our trauma, we resolved our conflicts. Somebody let me know. Maybe I missed it. But when did black people heal? When did we fix ourselves? When did that happen? Like somebody let me know. Maybe, like I said, maybe I missed it. Maybe I missed it, because that's possible. I could have missed it. But I don't think that we ever had the chance to heal collectively. They gave us this illusion of freedom and basically told us to go ahead and try to earn a living in a society that was never designed and meant for us to thrive and succeed and elevate. Like, that's pretty much what happened. And then on top of that, in reference to the healing, then they want us to go to them for healing. Like, they want us to go see them, like their therapists and things like that. Like, no, we have not healed. We have not come close to healing from what we've been through and what we are currently going through. You know what I'm saying? You can't put a people through what they put our ancestors through and then expect for them to just be okay with it. Like, come on, man. Like, we got a lot of work to do. We got a lot of work to do in the healing department, man. We ain't came anywhere near close to healing. And that's why I don't get on these platforms bashing either side, because I already know the science. I already know the science, man. We are dealing with a very, listen, we are destroyed. We not healed, we hurt. You dealing with a hurt people. You dealing with a traumatized group of people. You dealing with a very traumatized psyche. You know what I'm saying? We very traumatized, man. We have got to do a lot of work, man. It's going to take generations. It's going to take generations for us to reverse that damage psychologically and physically. So it's mentally and physically. We haven't even reversed the physical damage. And what's the physical damage? Them having us deviate from our natural way of life in regards to nutrition, being out in the sun, being out in nature. No, they was like, we gonna make them work 9 to 5s and we gonna place them in an office all day. Man, that's unnatural. That's unnatural. We not designed to be inside for 8, 9, 10 hours a day. No, black people are not designed for that. We designed to be out in nature. Like, that's what we designed for. Which is one of the reasons why they tried to justify enslaving us and having us out in the fields. Just think about it, man. Like, just think about what I'm telling you. That's one of the reasons they use to justify us being in fields, because we're not designed to be inside like that. But we're not designed to be slaves. We was out there. When I say we designed to be out in nature, I'm talking about being in nature for ourselves, studying nature, going out there planting, all of that. That's what we designed to be in. That's what we designed to do. We, what they say, children of the sun. They took us away from that. So we got trauma on all levels, mentally and physically. And we haven't healed from any of that. How many people in your family right now suffering from some type of ailment, illness, disease? Come on now. We suffer from a lot of diseases that were uncommon to our people prior to us interacting with Europeans. A lot of these ailments and diseases that we are suffering from, like, no, they were uncommon to our people. Very uncommon. And now they are very common to our people. And we suffering from these diseases and ailments. So, like, man, come on, man. They made us deviate from our true nature, and we wonder why we got this disconnect. Man, come on, it's obvious. It's obvious, man. That's why when I look at these brothers, that's why when I look at sisters and I see them living an unnatural way of life, I'm not necessarily that upset. Because for one, I was walking that path, man. I had to come into the knowledge of self, man. Like, I had to be inspired. I had to come across certain pieces of information for it to click for me. So I wasn't just born righteous. I wasn't just born into this. No, I was living foul. I was living foul just like everybody else. And I'm still not necessarily 100% righteous. Man, I still slip up from time to time, but that's normal. That's life. But man, I can't be criticizing these people that are so-called lost when I was once that person. You know, and what woke me up won't necessarily wake the next person up. So you can't be mad. If I read a book and that book woke me up and that book impacted me on a high level, I can't expect for it to do the same or have the same effect on the next brother. I can read Elijah Muhammad's Message to the Black Man, and I'm talking about it woke me up. I can pass that book on to another young brother, and it's not time for him to read that. He's not ready for that. So I can't get mad and say, man, you read this book, but you still tripping. You still being ignorant out here. Like, nah, man, it wasn't his time. You can't force that on him. You can't force it on him. You know, and a lot of times that's what happened. We think that if something woke us up, it's supposed to wake the next person up. It's not how it goes. That's not how it goes. People gonna wake up when and if they are ready. Point blank, period. It's no force on that. You know, you dealing with a severely damaged people. So it's gonna take a lot to wake some of these folks up. It's gonna take a lot. It took a lot of convincing me. I was researching hard before I started making transitions because, again, like I said, everything I was coming across went against what I had been taught since birth. So I didn't just accept it as soon as I came across it. I had to do some digging. I had to do some thorough researching. I was believing the American dream. I was believing everything that they were selling me at that time. So I'm like, hold on, man, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Don't eat this. What are you talking about? Don't eat the pork. Poison animal eater. What do you mean? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? We gods and they earths, and what do you mean respect? Like, what are you talking about? I had to dig deep. I was dealing with self-hatred just like everybody else. I feel like at one point we all was dealing with it. Unless you was like born into it, unless you was born into a family where they was uplifting you, you know, we pretty much all dealt with it, especially like if you are of a darker pigmentation. Like my skin, I'm not fair skinned out here, man. My skin's pretty dark, you know. So I went through that phase of hating my skin tone as a child, wishing I was lighter. Like, man, I done been through all of that. You know, I didn't been around the environment to where they would call you black, but like it was in a derogatory way. So black, it was derogatory. Oh, you black, your skin black. They wasn't saying that like, oh, black is beautiful. No. I don't want to talk to him. He too black. He too dark. You know, now these are terms of endearment out here. Now people embracing that. But back in the day, that wasn't the case. Oh, his hair nappy. Not in a good way. Now when we say the hair nappy, we mean that's that good hair. You know, so I can't like that. That's the era where I came from. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, it was rough. It was rough, man. You looking in the mirror like, man, like the world don't necessarily too much fool with my pigmentation, my reflection. As a child, that's gonna have an impact on you, a strong impact on you. Unfortunately, that's why when you see a child that's dark, as far as the pigmentation, man, you got to make sure you go out your way to encourage that child, speak positivity, speak life into that child, because again, society gonna do their best to discriminate. They're gonna do their best to discriminate. CC for sure. Malcolm X, I always go back to the Malcolm X quote. Who taught you how to hate yourself? Boom. Fresh out the womb. That's how we condition and program to hate what we see. You hate what you see, then you hate everything that looks like you. So there you have it. You know, once again, the understanding is understood. You programmed out the womb to hate yourself. So again, anything that's a reflection of you, you also hate it. You know, so it is what it is. That's why you seeing this dysfunction. That's why you seeing these black men hating one another, killing one another. That's why you see these black men at odds with black women, vice versa, all of that. You know, so it is what it is. That's the origin of a lot of this, man. It's the origin of a lot of it. That's the origin of a lot of it. You know, so I dealt with that. A lot of people have dealt with it. You know, that's very common for black children to grow up questioning themselves and things like that. Like, man, what are you like, man? You know what I'm saying? I wish I was a little bit lighter. Woo woo. But now, nah, it's being embraced. Now it's being embraced. But back then, I'm telling you, that was not the case, man. It was not, you were not desirable out here. And I had conversations with a lot of individuals who can attest to that. You know, back in the day, man, y'all know it. Y'all know it. Darker pigmentation wasn't pleasant. That was a joke when they talked about you being black. God is for sure, man. We got that wonderful hair, you know, and that's one of the reasons why I started growing it. One of the reasons why I needed to grow out my hair, I was like, yeah, let's get it. You know, that was part of that rebellious energy. Oh, okay, y'all don't like it, huh? Let me grow it out. That's when I started to kind of find myself. When I was seeing society just reject me, so I was like, cool, y'all gonna reject me anyway. Let me go ahead and look how I want to look. Devontae, yeah, Uncle Ruck, yeah. But again, man, we gotta bridge that gap, and we gotta actually solve these problems, man. The disconnecting is real simple. Again, like I said, when you tap into the origins, but people don't want to read, people don't want to research. The disconnect between black men and black women can be easily understood by just studying the history of black people in America. Easily understood. We were all about family. When they say it takes a village to raise a child, that's something that we came up with. That's us. That ain't white folks. That ain't Asian folks. That ain't Arab folks. Like, that's us. That originated with us. The village raising a child, the village coming together. That stems from us. That stems from our ancestors. Everybody copied that from us. They got that philosophy, that concept from us, from people that look like us. That's where that came from. So all this type of stuff that we doing now, all this back and forth nonsense, that's very unnatural to our original way of life. We were all about family. We were all about the village. The stuff that we be doing now, the silly nonsense that we be on now on these platforms, our ancestors would not condone that. They would not approve of that, because we wasn't about that. We were never about that. We were never about this nonsense that we doing now. Never. And like I said, all you got to do is study history. That's all you got to do. You study history, you will see that what I'm saying is factual. The village raising a child, that stems from us, man. We had each other's backs, man. Like, that's what we did. That's what we did. Now it's the total opposite. Total opposite. We didn't bought into their concepts. Every man for himself, eye for an eye, two for, like, those things, like, that's them. That's them. That's not us. That's not how we were living. So we bought into their way of life. We bought into their culture. It's literally what we did. So we deviated from our original way of life, and then we accepted and embraced their way of life. And now you have dysfunction, corruption, toxicity. That's what you have. Disease, illness, sickness. That's what you have. That's what you get when you embrace an unnatural way of life. When you go against nature, that's what you get. You get calamities. You get natural disasters. You get things like that when you go against nature. We have been going against nature for the longest, but it stems from them forcing us to go against nature, by them dividing the family, selling off the families. Husband, you go here. Wife, you go there. Children, y'all go over there. Family has been sold off, and they in all different parts of the globe. So they was forcing fathers to not be in the lives of their children. They was forcing mothers to not be in the lives of their children. They was selling them off. And if you didn't allow it to go down, then you was killed. So either way, you was not going to be present. So that's what that's what our ancestors was dealing with back in the day. And that will explain a lot of what is currently happening in reference to the dysfunction, in reference to all the nonsense, the toxicity. Come on now, if you show me a toxic relationship, I bet you I can pinpoint the origin to slavery in some way, shape, or form. I guarantee you. Guarantee you. Like I guarantee you that I can do that. Guarantee you. Ooh, TRKR. The black soul, blacks argument is a little flawed. It's flawed in a lot of different ways. And I will explain that in another video. But that, again, when you dig deeper on the research, you will see why that a lot of people always use. That's one of the most common arguments. That black soul, blacks too. That's one of the most common arguments. And that argument is actually easy to address. But I'm going to do another video addressing that. It's real simple. Real simple to that breakdown, because that's what they want to say when blacks enslave blacks as well. Real simple. When we talk about, listen, when we talk about slavery, because whites enslaved whites too, you know, so that argument is kind of, it's a moot point, and that's the point that a lot of people want to bring up as far as blacks enslaving blacks. And one of the main reasons, one of the main reasons why that's flawed is because, again, when you look at what happened to our ancestors via white folks, and you look at what happened when black people were so-called enslaving other blacks, two totally different things. For one, you had a prisoner of war. You had prisoners of war, and we never stripped these people. Like when you had tribes. So we always have been tribal individuals. We always have been tribal people. You had tribes. So if you were trespassing, if you was over here on this land and you wasn't supposed to be over here, boom, prisoner of war. Or we had some type of conflict going on and you was caught on the enemy's turf, then boom, we got you. Prisoner of war. And once you served your time, then you was able to go back to your people and you was able to keep your culture. They didn't take a person from another tribe and strip that person of everything, his language, his heritage, any of that. They didn't strip him of any of that. He was able to keep all of that intact. When we got enslaved by these Europeans, they literally stripped everything from us. Then when we were striving to get back in tune with ourselves, they killing us. So it is two totally different things. Two totally different things, man. But we didn't always been tribal, and that's everywhere. Everybody did that. But when you study slavery and what the Europeans did to black folks, you cannot find that example anywhere else in history, other than the Arabs probably doing us the same way. And then if you go back down to like the Hyksos, the Asians, they also did that to us. But as far as the Europeans and what they did to African Americans, or what they did to Africans at the time, you cannot find another example of that in history as far as what all they stripped from us. So even when we say blacks enslaved blacks, go find me a black person that enslaved another black person and took everything from that black person as far as their culture, their heritage, their language, their so-called religion. Never happened. Simply a prisoner of war situation. And most of the time, when blacks enslaved the blacks, so to speak, it was based on terms. It was just like a prison sentence. So once you served your time, you was able, like I said, to go back to your people. You was able to go back to your people. So it was terms. All right. So you caught on this side, hey, we gotta hold you hold you captive for 5 years. Then once the 5 years is up, now you go back to your peoples. We were not blessed to be able to do that at all. We are currently in a situation where we are using names like your last name. If you trace it back, is probably the last name of a slave master that enslaved your people. We were not doing that to one another. We weren't saying, all right, you finna take my last name. Now, how many Irish people are disconnected from their culture, from their heritage? I know a lot of Irish folk. Not a lot, but I know some Irish folk. They still connected to their old traditions. They have not been disconnected from any of that. So even when you start tapping into the Irish, the Italians, all of these other groups that feel like they were discriminated against, they were never disconnected from their culture. They never had their original language stripped from us. Man, we literally do not speak our native tongue. We don't speak our original language. We are literally speaking the language of the oppressor. This is not our true language. I'm literally speaking to y'all on this stream in English. In English. Like this is not right. Not right at all. You know, so it was two totally different things. Totally different things. You will never find it in history. Like what happened to us with the Europeans, what they put us through, you will never find that in history. And now again, and I always break this down, it ain't even a blame game. Nowhere near a blame game. We acknowledging a role. We got to acknowledge a role. So we can sit here and say, oh, our ancestors, they was too soft. They shouldn't allow that to happen. Whatever you want to say about it. The fact of the matter is it happened. The fact of the matter is it happened. You know, it happened, and here we are. And now we got to try to listen. What other group of people have to study as hard as we do to get knowledge of ourselves? Man, how many Asians really got to tap into their history? Like at 25, like they know their history growing up. They connected to a lot of their traditions and all of that growing up. It's black folks in America. Like we get to a point, we like, man, hold on. Like we literally gotta unlearn everything that was taught about us. And that's it. You can't really say that about any other group of people. If you got a person, if a person is a Jewish and he's brought up in a Jewish household, he don't know the Jewish history, whether he wants to know it or not. If you got an Asian that was brought up in an Asian household, they gonna know that Asian history, whether they want to know it or not. When you got black people in the black household in America, they may or may not know the truth about themselves. They gonna have to come across this information like you just gotta hope they come across that information. Like that's where we at with it. We actually we didn't have people, we didn't had some of our great elders and ancestors have to put their lives on the line just to write books about, listen, this how bad it is. And I wish I got 1,000 of these books around here somewhere. But man, just think about it. We done had black men in America, our ancestors, our elders, that they had to write books explaining to people that the original pigmentation of people in Africa is black, dark, brown, original, whatever words you want to use. We done had great elders and ancestors that then had to write books explaining something that should be common sense. That's how bad off we are. We got plenty of books that was written by black men in America for black people in America explaining something as simple as the original color of the color of the original Egyptians is black. That's how bad off we are, to where it had to be explained and broken down scholastically that the people in Egypt, the original Egyptians, they look like us. Man, that should be common sense. That shouldn't have to be explained in thousands of books. But yet here we are. Like that's what we are up against. They didn't have to write books like that. Like that's ridiculous. Sheikh Anta Diop, they had to write books letting you know that, hey, the original Africans, hey, them people in Africa, like they black. Everything stems from black people. Origin of humanity stems from here. And like, hey, the people in this area, they were black. Like what? Like that shouldn't even have to be like it shouldn't even be that deep, man. It should be very common sense. But no, they did a great job of brainwashing our people. They destroyed our libraries because in those libraries, that's where the information was at. And it was like, man, we can't have these black folks learning about themselves. Destroy the library. So then when we get here, we got to go back and we got to tap back in archaeology, things like that. We got to dig up the bones and we got to rewrite this information that we should have never had to rewrite in the first place because it was common sense, man. Common sense that the people on this side of town gonna be black, man, because ain't no other group of people gonna really be able to survive in this climate. But we didn't have to write those books. And it's crazy, not only that we had to write those books, but people still don't believe what's in those books. We still debate about some of those common things. Man, I didn't broke down, man. People, you have black people in 2022 that still look at me crazy when I say, hey, the original people in Egypt, what they call Egypt, the original people there, they were black. They look like us. They were like, what, really? They think that the current Arab that we see today are the people that originally populated Egypt. No, not at all, not close. But that's the world we live in. We reversing all of that to where we got to go read basic things like, all right, the people in Africa, the original people in Africa, like they were black. You know what I'm saying? The Ethiopians, you know what I'm saying? The original Ethiopians, they were black. The original Indian, like the people in India, they were black. Like we got to read this type of stuff. And this should be common. We got to go back and read the science. Oh, black, that's genetically dominant. We got to go back and tap into that because we were taught that we was inferior. So we got to go back and tap into basic science about our pigmentation. Basic science. You know what I'm saying? That our ancestors, they already was going to let us know that, but they destroyed the library. So we got to go back and tap back into this basic science. Basic information that we got to relearn. That we once had, man. You know, so it's sick, man. That's what we going up against. That's what we dealing with. And again, even when we talk about our history, yeah, it wasn't perfect. You know, when you study any culture, you're going to have internal conflicts. You're going to have internal war. You're going to have that. So when people hear us talking about what our ancestors went through, like what they did back in the day, like, nah, it wasn't all peaches and cream. Yeah, we killed one another. White folks killed one another. Asians killed one another. Like this always happened. This always happened. So our history wasn't perfect. Nobody's history is perfect. But the fact of the matter is, like, no, we never had to endure what we endured when we encountered them. And that will always be an actual fact. 100%. 100%. So at the end of the day, you dealing with people that don't speak their own language, man. And we getting signs and all that via dreams, the subconscious mind, and we got to learn to interpret them. But if we spoke our original native tongue, we would be able to easily interpret them. But since we don't, now we got to dig deep to get in tune with ourselves, like stuff that should be real simple, stuff that we should be learning at birth. Instead, we going through a school system that's teaching us the total opposite of the truth or half truths. Bunch of fabrications. That's we sending our children to those schools and then expecting them to come out right and exact and then saying that we can't blame white folks. Like, listen, come on, man. It ain't about blaming. It's the road. We getting educated by these folk. We going to work for these folk. Like, man, like, dude, until we break these chains, like, they ain't gonna be the way that they are. Oh, Patrick, for sure. You know, they caught that slave trying to learn how to read. Off with his head, kill him. We can't have y'all. If y'all ain't entertaining us, if y'all ain't what they call shucking and jiving, stepping, fetching type of stuff, if y'all not providing the entertainment for us, off with his head. You can't be no serious slave out here trying to learn, trying to educate his people, lead a rebellion, kill him. You got to be stepping, fetching. You got to be their entertainment. Outside of enriching them, working in their fields. Outside of that, you got to be their entertainment. If you out here serious trying to learn how to read, trying to plot, plan, organize, and strategize, off with his head. NT, Layla Africa, 100%. RIP, got the book right here, African Holistic Health. Layla Africa, one of the GOATs, man. You know, one of the GOATs. But yeah, definitely heard of Layla Africa. You're not about to find too many people in this community that came from this community that I haven't heard of. But I had to find out about, man, like we should grow up learning about these people. A baby at 5 years old should know about Layla Africa. You know what I'm saying? Like, but we got to learn about this stuff 20, 25, late in the game. Like, we should grow up knowing about Amos Wilson, Marcus Garvey, Layla Africa, Dr. Sebi, Elijah Muhammad, just knowing all this information. The Ethiopians, the Egyptians, the Yorubas, all the doggone tribe. Like, we should grow up. Like, this is what we should be knowing about. That's what we should be knowing about. Capoeira, all of this, like all of these concepts, man. All of these concepts, man. I was breaking it down to a person the other day about just certain things that are not normally associated with our people that we created. And I brought up something like yoga. You know, for the most part, those of us that know, we know. But for the most part, if somebody mentions yoga to a person that's not in the know, a black person that's not in the know, they're going to think yoga is a white person thing or those Indians, so to speak. They gonna think that's something that stems from them. They're not gonna think of like an African creating yoga. They ain't not gonna associate that. Same with like karate, martial arts. They not gonna think that we created that, but we definitely did. They definitely stole all of that from us. They definitely took all of that from us. You got a book called Egyptian Yoga that I recommend everybody get, man. Muatai Ashby. Shout out to Muatai Ashby, very great author. Dude got a lot of books. Egyptian Yoga, he talks about all of that. You know, so when you start hearing things like chakras and all of that, it's not typically, like I said, those of us that know, we know. But for the most part, the average person ain't associating that with somebody that's black. It all stems from the black. Larry, for sure. Akuma, 100%. Like I said, when you, man, listen, all of that. When you do the knowledge, all of that is gonna go back down to the African. Man, come on. It's real simple. Martial law. You think our people didn't know how to defend themselves and fight and all that? Come on. But when you hear martial law, when you hear karate and things like that, it's typically associated with somebody that do not look like us. And that's just that type of stuff. We can go a little deeper than that. We already know, and I build on this all the time about Greek philosophers having to travel to the Egyptian mystery schools to get their information, and then they take that information and give it to their people. Socrates, Plato, all of these, and Pythagoras, all of these people, they had to travel to Egypt to get that information. They had to travel to the Egyptian mystery school to get educated. But they want to say, oh, the Greeks came up with all of this. No, they did not. Where did they go get this information from? They were not just born with this information. They had to travel to get the information. And you got plenty of Greeks that traveled. I think I got one book, Ruins of Empire. That's one of the books. They documented it, man. They would go travel to Africa. They would document what they saw. They would document the intelligence of these people. And these are the white folk. These are the Greeks that's writing this. Like, man, we traveled to this land, and these people were burnt, whatever they want to call them. And like, man, they were very intelligent, very sophisticated, very powerful people. First-hand accounts, man. They traveling to the land, seeing the people for themselves, and they were seeing how friendly, how welcoming these people are. Which again, that would be a flaw to me, which is how they was able to get one up on us. You know, so at the end of the day, man, like, we got to get in tune. We got to get in tune, unfortunately, because a lot of us are not growing up with this. Now, we grow up with the basic information about Black American history. You know, you might hear about a Frederick Douglass, Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King Jr. Okay, you maybe get educated on the Black Panthers and whatnot. Might hear a little something about Malcolm X. Boom, and then there it is. It's about the end of that. A few other people that I missed, but y'all get my drift. That's what we learn about. As y'all know, the cliche, it's like our history, our story starts at slavery. Nope, no, it doesn't. We don't learn about, we just don't learn about pre-enslavement. We don't learn about that. And so that's when we have to dig deep, unfortunately. It's sad that we have to do it, but man, it must be done. That's why education, man, is important. That's why I get on here and I recommend books the way that I recommend them, or at the rate at which I recommend them. Because man, we got to do the knowledge. I know it's tedious. I know it can be hard work, but we got to do it. We got to do it. Because at the end of the day, you looking at the next generation. You learning this information to pass it down to them so that they can be great. And so they can pass it down. Like, that's what you learning this information for. That's the importance of this information. People always like to say all that. Reading them books on Africa ain't making me no money. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. People don't understand how valuable information is, how information is a source of currency, or it's a form of currency. People don't understand that. There's no way you can read a book and say that book didn't make me any money. That's wealth, man. Hey, look, wealth is information. You just got to know how to utilize it. And that's part of the problem. There's no way you can read a book about your lineage, about your people, about your ancestors, and not walk away with some form of wealth that you didn't have before that. So yeah, that book is making you a lot of money. And for the most part, you shouldn't even be striving to make money, so to speak, because the money that we know is really worthless. If we want to get real in the field, if we want to get technical, this money, that green piece of paper and all that, worthless, man. I mean, not worthless, worthless. Yeah, magic, definitely. Timeless. Timeless. Proper information is timeless, man. Correct information is timeless, man. It's timeless. And that's why we got to work hard to dig deep to uncover these truths out here and pass them down. Each one teach one type deal. You know, once you take that information and apply it to yourself, like I always say, then it's time to pass it on. That's kind of where we mess up and drop the ball. We don't pass it on. Pass that information on, man. Trust me, it's somebody out here that want to hear what you guys say. The problem is we try to force it on people that's not trying. Like, we try to force it on the wrong people. We don't, that information, somebody out here wants the information. Somebody out here wants what it is that they want to hear what it is you have to say and what you have to offer. Your problem is you trying to force it on the wrong people. You trying to get the wrong person to hear that message instead of the person that actually wants to. That's our problem. That's one of our main problems in society, man. It's like force. Like, I'm gonna force this person to hear this message. I'm gonna force this person to read this book, get this knowledge, get this information. No. Incorrect. Incorrect. You know, so again, you get the information, man. You get the information, you pass it on. And that's the important thing too about relationships. You know, you get the information. Hey, if you a black man and you with a sister, you get this information about our true heritage, man, and where we came from. You pass that information on to her. That's your duty. If she's not receptive to the information, now you got your answer. Move on. See, the problem is we stupid. We get this information and we try to force. We try to force that person. Oh no, they gonna get this information. Then get mad. Oh, they don't want to listen. The black men don't want to listen. Black women don't want to listen. No, the one that you with don't want to listen to you for whatever reason. But there is a black woman. There is one sister out here that is going to be willing to listen to this information. You just trying to force it on the wrong one. And now you upset. Oh, they don't want to listen. Yeah, the ones that you choosing. No, they don't want to listen. It's not time for them to get that information. It's not time. It's not their time. At one point, you didn't want to listen. Hell, some of y'all that's saying that still don't want to listen. So I always find it odd when dudes be getting mad and talk about, man, for the most part, a lot of brothers that say that, man, you can't tell them nothing. And vice versa. When a sister claims somebody don't listen, you can't tell her nothing. You know, so it is what it is, man. It ain't that somebody don't want to listen. For one, it might be your presentation, and it just might not be their time for that message. That's it. Because trust me, these sisters that you say don't want to listen, they listening to people. It's just not you. It's just not you, man. It's just not you. And then it just might not be their time to, man, y'all got to understand how heavy some of this information is. Man, you can't just, hey, man, I come from the 5% culture, man. When they telling you the black man is God. Man, you can't just hit somebody with that information and then expect for them to be receptive. Like, come on, man. Like, you can't just walk up to a brother and tell him that and then expect for him to just listen to you out the gate. Like, man, first of all, they're going to think you crazy. Like, for the most part, they were like, man, what are you talking about? They're going to think that you done lost your mind and you crazy. So you got to understand, like, it's a price of way to do this, man. It's a way that you got to go about this, man. Oh, the black woman is the earth and things like that, man. You can't just walk up to a sister and be like, yeah, you the earth, and then get mad when she don't want to listen to you. Man, she ain't never heard that in her life. She been on this planet for 25, 30, 35 years. She ain't never heard black women be referred to as the earth, and now you saying she don't want to listen. She don't understand what you saying. She ain't never heard this. That's shock value. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't even understand what you mean right now. So a lot of times I done seen brothers be too aggressive with some of this information, like it's common information. No, that's like me walking up to a sister, seeing that obviously she don't care about what she eat, and you're like, nah, veganism is the way. And then when she don't listen to me, get mad and say, nah, they don't want to listen out here. Dude, she ain't been educated on veganism. She don't know what that means. She don't know what that is. She don't know what that way of life entails. I can't just slap over the head and say you need to go vegan tomorrow, and if you don't, you don't listen. You hard-headed. Come on, man. Come on. Dirt piece, what's happening? Oh man, hey, our hair, what they call it, antennas, right? You know, that's symbolic to our connection to this here universe. Us having these locks, that's why they're fearful. That's why they fear us, man. That's why they fear us when they see a brother that grew the locks out, that represents something to them. What they call consciousness. Consciousness is awareness. You know what I'm saying? It's levels to consciousness, it's levels to awareness. And they see you got them long locks, they like, oh, that brother, he probably on level 25. He's aware, he's in tune, and they not worried about you being in tune with them, and he in tune with himself. That's a problem. She in tune with herself. That's a problem. They don't like that. They don't like that at all. Beast by Bless Zone Out. Peace. What's happening? God is for sure. Yeah, Beast by Bless Zone Out for sure. Yep. That's what you gotta do, and it's sad. It's crazy. I had somebody somebody was talking to me, man. I ain't even finna get deep into that. I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say what I want. I'm gonna say that. NT, you say, do you think African Americans can be free if Africa isn't? And that's part of the problem. And people talk about, and I bring that up all the time. People talk about Africa. I'm like, man, Africans are, some of them are more like colonized than us. We colonize across the globe. You got to find those remote tribes that are not colonized. You know what I'm saying? That's living off the grid. Those are the people that never lost their culture. You know what I'm saying? But when you come across a lot of these Africans, they're going to be Catholics, they're going to be Christians and things like that. These are in African countries. They've been colonized. But you say do you think African Americans can be free if Africa isn't? I do think it's possible. just from the simple way that I define and break down freedom. It's possible, but it's gonna be hard work. Gonna be hard work, but it's possible. Because it's got to start from somewhere. Like at some point, the freedom it has to derive from somewhere. You know. King Kunta, hey, I ain't mad at that. Akuma for sure. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Corey, man, I'm telling you, I done seen it, man. You can't be aggressive. Like, you meet a sister, man, and she just new to all this information, man. You can't be like a Hebrew Israelite on the corner, just aggressive. Like, chill out. Chill out, man. You gotta slowly introduce these things to her. But nah, brothers be tripping. Kingra, man, I know a lot of them. Oh, these yeah, nah. Nowadays, it's a lot of brothers with locks that's not in tune because again, we do it for the wrong reason. We grow these joints for the wrong reasons now. But back in the day, man, that was symbolic to something. Princess Israel, peace. What's happening? Be law for sure, you know. And shout out to the stepfathers. Hey, these sign. And when I say Hebrew Israelites, I mean y'all know the ones I'm talking about. I'm cool with a lot of them, but they not the aggressive ones. But for the most part, when I say Hebrew, y'all know which ones I'm talking about. Overly aggressive with it. You can't be that way. For some people that works, but for most people that aggression that's gonna turn them off, and that ain't what you want to do. If you feel like you got something that's helpful to them, you don't want to turn them away, man. You don't want to run them off. You want them to get this information, so you got to be you got to be, hey, take it slow, nice and slow. You know, but y'all done seen the ones I'm talking about. And it's some of them in all the groups for real. You know what I'm saying? To be honest with you, I know Moorish brothers. I know some of them that's just overly aggressive. It's like, dude, chill. You know what I'm saying? Chill out. Be law for sure. Like I said, I know one of my biggest supporters, man, is an Israelite brother. You know, but but some of them have that reputation for being overly aggressive, and it's like, dude, that's gonna run some people off. And again, we know the truth don't have no feelings, but we trying to wake people up. So we got to understand people that we dealing with. If you really want some people to receive some information, then your approach is everything. You're not gonna have the same approach for everybody. It's like a child. We're not gonna teach all children the same. They have different learning styles. So if you really feel like your information is helpful, then you gotta change your approach when you're dealing with certain groups of people. You know, even within the culture that I'm a part of, 5%, man, they will knock your head off when it comes to quoting degrees, quoting lessons and whatnot. Like, you got some aggressive gods and earths and whatnot, but it's cool though. For some people, they need that. But then you have some ones that's relaxed and laid back. Like, okay, now that's more so my speed. But you know that aggression, man, don't work for everybody. Montel, peace, what's happening? Yeah, that aggression don't work for everybody, man. Like, some people turned off by that, you know. Doesn't work for everybody, you know. So again, if that ain't your, you gotta find you somebody that's laid back, that's in the mix. But y'all, man, with that being said, I gotta make my move. I said I had about 45 minutes to an hour. I gotta make some moves and head back to this gym, terrorize these clients, man. So I appreciate all of y'all tapping in for this stream. We got some things off the chest, and I'm gonna bring this book back up. Slave Breeding. Get this book. This is what inspired this particular stream. Sex, Violence, and Memory in African American History. Grab this book, man. It's a very important book. It's not that long of a read. I think it's a little over 100 pages. Like, it's probably like 180 pages and whatnot. So it's a, you know what I'm saying, a short read. So grab this book, man. Grab it. Grab this book. Kingra, no requirements other than just chopping it up with one of them. And then we got to, you know what I'm saying, walk you through the process, you know, what we say, take you from knowledge to born. So if you striving to get down, all you got to do is find me on Instagram, Facebook, and I can point you in directions, man, and we can chop it up. But with that being said, man, I got to make my moves, man. I got to head down, hit this highway, man, to get this gym ready for the bloodbath, man, because y'all know we be putting in work in the gym, man. But I appreciate all y'all tapping in, man. It's always love, man. Y'all be easy out here. Shout out to everybody, man. Shout out to my 5% family. Shout out to the Hebrew Israelites, those that don't be tripping. The Moors, those that don't be tripping. Comedic scientists, man. Whatever you are. Black Panthers, man. Hey, whatever you are. Long as it's black, you cool with me. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to the black organizations, man. Shout out to the black culture out here. Shout out to everybody, man. Shout out to all my black people, man. What my man Styles P say, love is love, man. But I'm out. Y'all be easy. Enjoy the rest of this Thursday. Definitely not going to tap in tomorrow. Got a lot going on tomorrow. This weekend, I might be laying low, so be on the lookout for them short videos. Y'all know how I've been rocking and rolling with those. But again, man, I'm out. Y'all be easy. Peace.